back to Niagara. So today guys, I'm gonna kind of go over a few things about my experience as being a real estate agent. So whether you're an agent and kind of want to know about the industry, or you're a consumer and kind of just want to hear about my experience and my knowledge, this video is for you. So first and foremost, I just want to mention that this is my 6th year in real estate. I am making this video in, well, I should probably say on here somewhere, but 2023. Gosh, it's 2023 already. But yeah, so I started in 2018, I believe, just at the end of it. And so it was a bit of a bumpy start. I mean, it wasn't easy. I didn't join a team at all. I've never joined a team. And nothing wrong with teams or anything. I just kind of wanted to see if I could just do it on my own, right? I just wanted to challenge myself, and it was definitely a challenge, but it was fun. I learned a lot. I went through a lot of different people and different mistakes, and so I'll make another video on that. But it's been a really good journey overall. I've just been keeping my mind on just helping people, because that's the whole reason I actually got into real estate. I did get a little desperate at times because in the first 3 years, it was tough for me. I didn't have a huge sphere of influence. I didn't really know much, you know, and life was happening, right? Like boyfriends and you know, deaths and just different things. But I'm here, I'm 6th year in, I'm an award-winning agent now. I've gone through a lot of experience. And so a few of them are things like the first thing I started with was farm, because I lived on a farm. So I knew a lot about septics and cisterns and how it all worked, and the zoning for agriculture. Like, you can only have one house on an agricultural home or a property, right? So I learned a lot. I learned about all the different types of systems, like the old septic systems and how septic systems work. And a lot of people aren't too aware of that, how well systems work, why they stink over time, how you can help that, water treatments, I mean, you name it, right? Like, there's so many different things about farm properties. And if you had an opportunity to live on a farm, it's a lot of fun, very rewarding, a lot of work, a lot of grass cutting, but it's great if you're into that. So farm was the first thing that I got into. The second thing was resale, which was actually fairly close to farm. I did them kind of the same time. Resale is, like I mentioned in my previous videos, is kind of like the bottom benchmark of knowledge. So resale became really easy for me because it's just all the same. I mean, if you don't know something that's happening with the property, or if it's a really old property, you might want to have it checked out by an inspector or a very, very experienced contractor. I do recommend inspector over contractor, not because I don't believe in the contractor's ability, but it's because the inspectors actually have to have it documented, and so at least you have something to go off of. So let's say that inspection didn't come out right. I mean, somebody's liable, right? When it comes to somebody's like verbal advice, like a contractor, for instance, there's only so much he can see through, like, just what he can see, right? And so it doesn't work well when it comes to if you had to actually go to court for something or whatever the case is, right? You don't try to get to that level, try to fix it before it gets there, but sometimes it can get pretty messy, and you want to make sure that you've done your due diligence, right? Because if you go to court and you decided not to take an inspection for whatever reason, well, the court's just probably going to say it was negligent. And did you have an agent that advised you to get an inspection, and did you listen? And if you didn't, then you're negligent. And if the agent didn't, then the agent was negligent, because they're responsible for you, right? So love contractors. My family owns their own construction business. I really respect the experience from contractors. They've done a lot physically, and I learned a lot from my dad as well on signs to look for and stuff like that. So, you know, if you're a good agent, you can kind of see certain things where you can be like, well, you know what, this looks a little fishy, I think we should look into it, right? And then always just get an inspector to confirm, right? So yeah, so I've done farm, resale. They're all pretty much very, very similar, you know, roof, HVAC. You've got, you know, your sub pumps, even depending on the area, you know, your There's just like so many like just typical things in a regular home. Cosmetics are like the last thing you look at as an agent. Like for myself, like when I walk in with a client, I know it's the first thing that they look at, but I like to look at right when we go down into the basement, we take a look at the whole system, you know, the vent system, and we also, like for me, for instance, one tip that I like to give is always look at the elevation of the house. So if the elevation of the house is below the city or the road, you're most likely going to have some water issues, right? And on top of it, if the eaves, like another thing I look at is the outside, is if the troughs, how they're facing, how many troughs do you have, like where, you know, because a lot of the issues is just because the water isn't directed properly, right? So there's a lot of things, but it comes down to very just kind of the same thing over and over. So resale is kind of like the bottom benchmark for me. Then it came to farm, and then I did, after that I did investment properties, so flipping. I did flipping homes. I did one even for my own parents, for my dad, and that was kind of a little project we did together, and he made $150,000 after everything, which was fantastic. And that was in that was early stages, before the market even went up. That was right before the market even went up. So if we held it for a little longer, we probably would have made even more. But again, we still did really, really well. We jumped on it, and I'm always looking for properties to sever. If you're an investor, those are always really good opportunities. That's another benchmark I went up into, was land development. Before land development, I did new builds. And so new builds, the one thing that I really learned from that was just HST applicable. So very similar to resale, even though you don't really need an inspector for that, because you've got the Terry on and stuff. So it's all kind of covered, but you just want to make sure that you are aware with what kind of builder you're going with. You know, different builders have different reputations. So if you have a local agent, they will be aware of that. I am aware of many different local builders because my dad worked for a lot of builders doing exterior work. So I can name you all of them, and we're even good friends with some of them. So so that was good. So I did new builds, and then I went into land development. So basically, I would find raw land, right? And I'm not going to share all my secrets on video right now because I want you guys to work with me, and I don't want to give out too much information. But basically, you know, you find raw land in a certain way, and you have the right planners in place, and yeah, and it's just a matter of knowing frontages and how to find the information and the zoning and all that kind of stuff, right? And then you look into, well, what's it going to cost, right? So like, for instance, I can tell you right now that converting an agricultural property into residential is very, very difficult unless the pattern shows that it's coming towards that, right? And you can convince the city otherwise, right? So it's just different things. And then again, I've got a whole system on how to find land for land developers, and I've got the contacts for new land developers, so people that want to get into it. There were a lot of people that have a lot of money that wanted to get into land development, but they just didn't know how, and so you know, I've got a client like that, right? And then after land development, I've got into a really, really cool opportunity, which was pre-con. I got to be a part of and work hand in hand with a Toronto agent. They called me up and asked me if I wanted to basically run this pre-con project with them, and I was like, yeah, like this sounds amazing. And I learned so much from that pre-construction project. Like, I mean, we got to know so many agents. We reached out the way we did advertising. I learned a lot, and I really looked up to that Toronto realtor who owns his own brokerage up in Toronto. And I just gained a lot of contacts, a lot of really good people I met, and I met the developer, and it was just really, really awesome just being a part of that whole system. And let me tell you, pre-con paperwork is, wow, like next level. But I could tell you and go off on that as well. So really cool. We did a luxury condominium in Welland, and then I also took care of their previous one in Niagara Falls, their luxury condominium there as well. So it was really, really cool. And yeah, and I've got a lot of knowledge when it comes to pre-construction, assignments, you know, closing costs, and just so you're aware, if you do want to get into pre-con, one of the things that you definitely want to find out is what are the closing costs, because that can add an additional, besides the HST, because remember, you got to pay HST as well on top of a new build, right? Whether it's new build or construction, you still got to pay HST on it. So you got to pay that, plus there's other fees involved, which could be anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000 extra, depending on the developer, right? Like, you don't know. And the biggest thing is you want to make sure you go with a reputable developer, right? So, yeah, and so it's really fun. It's really great. Pre-con is a good project to get into if you know what you're looking for. And yeah, I think I've literally hit every single aspect of real estate that there is. So I've got a lot of knowledge in all of it, and I've only been in it for, like, this is my 6th year. And so I feel like I've really got a really good grasp on farm, resale, investment. You know, investment's really cool because there's so many opportunities with it, right? I haven't gone into commercial because I just want to stay more residential. Technically a fourplex, I believe, is commercial. But I mean, I can do a little bit of that, but mostly I just do like investment. So triplex, duplex, eventually I'll get into apartment complexes, but right now I'm busy enough with what I have in land development and all that kind of stuff. I mean, oh, and leases, I've done leases as well, but that's, yeah, so I do that for like my investors and such. So I've learned a lot. It's been really fun. It's been really great. And that's just kind of a little bit about me and what I've experienced. Again, I've started investing when I was like 19 in university, doing creative, like, I was a nerd. Let me tell you, I was a nerd. And instead of partying, I would read like creative investment books, and even from like way back, like I would take my dad's, like, I don't know, like he had like real estate books from like way back when. I just read them, like, because I just found them so interesting. Or I'd go to the library and like I'd read, like, you know, motivational business books or entrepreneur books. And that's another thing is I've managed businesses. I've met, like, I used to work at the Bank of Montreal, so I met some really cool people. I met the vice president of Harris. Oh shoot, I forget. BMO has like different levels of investment, but basically he wanted me to work for like the millionaire portfolio clients, right, at head office and stuff. So I said no to that, unfortunately. It was such a good opportunity, but I just had to do what I loved most, and that was real estate. So I also got a really cool opportunity from my professor to be an economist in South America, which that would have been so cool, but again, like, I love my family too much, and I just want to be close to home and do what I love, right? I would have loved to help build up the South American economy. Don't get me wrong, but I would have definitely missed my family, and I was young, and I just, I think I made the right decision. I love what I do. I love meeting new people, and I just believe in doing it the right way, and that's why I believe I am where I am, because I'm honest. And I'm not perfect. I obviously not saying that I know everything, but I make sure and I keep myself accountable that I know as much as I possibly can in a certain aspect before I give you any advice on it. And if I don't know too much about it, I will direct you to somebody that does. And so that's how I work. I won't tell you something unless I'm certain that is what it is. Right? So that's how I am as a person. And for me, trust is a big thing, right? Like, I gotta be able to trust you too. Like, I hope you're not, doing things behind my back or saying bad things about me. I wanna like have a good relationship, right? So so that's been my experience. I hope you guys liked it. If there's any questions that you have in regards to any of those aspects of real estate, I would love to sit down and talk with you. Maybe we can go grab a coffee. Maybe we'll just Zoom if you like Zoom. I'm not a huge fan of Zoom just because I don't know why, but I'm not a huge technology person, even though I'm trying. But I just love face-to-face, or if you really have to, text, email, it's all good. Like, whatever you guys feel comfortable with. So thank you guys so much for listening. I look forward to hearing from you, and hopefully we can do some business soon. Would love to get that opportunity from you. Okay, thank you so much, guys, and have a great day.